Welcome to the Cookout, guys. And I have to tell you, I am so honored today to have Joey Hamilton with me. Now, Joey and I have been knowing each other for the better part of 30 years, believe it or not. And Joey has had many different iterations in his life. I think, from elite athlete to coach to photographer and to basically building social movements to, just creating massive campaigns. And I think one of the things for me that I've always appreciated about Joey is how he evolved. He's always been trying to find a better version of himself. And I'm just excited to kind of catch up because, we've been doing the daddy duties lately. So he has 3 kids, I got 2, and, the kids call us uncle. So this has been so surreal to be friends at a time in college and now, to be parenting together. I think it's pretty awesome. So Joey, welcome to the show. A long wind up. I guess I wonder if we could start about the first version of ourselves, how we became friends almost 30 years ago.
Part of those story, I don't think I could tell.
Yeah, please.
No, in all seriousness, what I remember is I decided to go to Colgate, and I was a swimmer. I played lacrosse. I played. My parents sent me to a basketball camp when I was in 4th grade one time for like 3 days over winter break, and I was like, I don't understand this. This is just not for me. So I never really paid that much attention to basketball. But when I decided to go to Colgate, I had a lot of friends that were like, "Oh, like you're gonna go, like that's where Adonal Foyle goes. That's where Adonal Foyle goes." It's like, sure, okay, yeah. And I remember we took Psych 101 my freshman year, and one day I walked in and I sat next to this guy, and I think the teacher came out and just like face planted. And this is like the biggest class on campus, like a lecture hall of people. She like face planted, and it was
Oh, that was harsh.
embarrassing for her, but entertaining for us. And so we started counting out the guy next to me, and we talked throughout the class. And then at the end of class, I think he said something like, "Oh, like come on down Friday night, or go to a party or something like that." And we stood up, and I was like, "Oh, that's the guy." So I don't know. I think we had a good origin story. If we're talking about the first versions of ourselves, and I really have to say that it was like we were present.
Yeah, I was gonna say explorers. I feel like the college version of ourselves was really and truly what college is about is trying to find who we were and really trying a different version of ourselves. If that makes sense? I mean, and I think that to me is like one of those things that college present an opportunity to wrestle with your raw self, and I think we did that quite successfully. I mean, talk about you were adopted by white parents. You grew up in a white family. Talk about navigating your identity and how that shaped the father you have become, or just more like how you lead people.
So my identity is, as you touched on earlier, is like just been an evolving piece of me. And I think growing up adopted with brown skin, with a white family, not having any idea who my biological parents were, I didn't know what my identity was. And so I walked around the world, navigated the world, trying different things and seeing if they fit. So I think how I've come to identity is piecing it together on my own, because I didn't have someone to look at. Literally, I did not have a photograph to look at and say, that's who I am, that's where I came from. So over the better part of 40 plus years, I've had to piece it together on my own, and really find that. And I think the big change for me was when I really started, or when I really stopped auditioning for acceptance, right? And you really almost become like unapologetically yourself, right? Like you show up and you learn like to be able to say, this is who I am. I have good parts. I have bad parts. I have parts that are in the middle. And the people that are going to accept me and love me at my lowest and, love me at my highest, like those are going to be my people. And I don't need to try and fit into someone else's world. There's a great quote that I love that is walk into a room like your ancestors sent you there. And so when I'm preparing for something like a big moment or something like that, that's kind of what I try and say to myself. But man, having kids changed everything. I mean, you can vouch for that. It's like when Lainey was born, she was the first person that I had ever seen or touched or interacted with in person that I was related to by blood. There's something indescribable there in those moments, and like now I have 3 of them, right? And like they're my little clan. And I think as a parent, I really try to help them grow and learn who they are, right? Like it's really interesting. As a parent, you want to it's this fine dance between do what I say because like I've lived this life and I know some things, and also just like go be yourself, right? As a leader, I've always tried to put people that I've managed into projects that really reflect themselves. I think that's where people do their best work.
Now, I know, the journey when you are adopted. I think one of the feeling is that of never really made whole. You got a chance, to kind of meet the origin of your birth and talk about as much of that you want to share.
So on my mom's side, so when I was born, she was 19. And from what I know, her parents kicked her out of the house. And she gave me up. I was in the hospital for 3 days, and I went to foster care. And I was there for 7 months before I was adopted. I know my mom has since had 3 other kids with her current husband. We talk on social media and we've talked on the phone sometimes. But she's not ready to engage with me yet. And that's okay. I don't need anything from her. And I can only imagine that maybe there's guilt or grief or shame or who knows what that is preventing her from wanting to engage. On my dad's side, I discovered them through 23andMe, and got a match one day, and we were trying to figure out who it was, and because it's kind of like a half sibling thing, the relationship that showed up on the screen was exactly it, but we pieced things together through my dad, and I ended up being my niece, so my biological brother, half brother, his daughter. So she went and talked to her dad, and we talked. The first time we talked for about 3 hours. And to me, I mean, it was great. But the most healing thing he said to me in that conversation was, and so our biological father passed away in 2004, so I never was able to meet him. But the most healing thing he said to me was, I can guarantee you that he never knew you were born. Because if you ever met our father, if he knew that he had another child out there, he would have absolutely fought to have been in your life. And to me, that kind of like flipped the story that I was telling myself. And then eventually about 2 years ago, he came out to visit, and he actually brought me some of our father's ashes. And so we went to some places in Oregon that I like to photograph, and we spread them, and it was just, it's really great. And he has younger younger daughters through a second wife, and so his youngest daughter is my oldest daughter's same age, and so like they FaceTime sometimes, and I don't know, like you said, it's all going to come full circle.
Yeah. Building your own clan. So, I wonder if we could go to like the sporting realm a little bit. I mean, I think as an elite swimmer and obviously international level coaching experience, talk about the role of discipline and identity when you were outside of the pool.
Um, so I guess when you're in it, right? Like when I was training at my peak, I don't know if I knew I don't know if I knew all the things that were going to translate outside the pool. But when you become a coach, like always felt that my job as a coach is to be teaching my athletes things that they can use not only while they're training, but things they can use outside the pool for the rest of their lives. And I've had, I mean, the greatest thing as a coach, I'm still in touch with a lot of my swimmers, is like somebody will say, they'll come and say, oh, I took the LSAT to try and get into law school, and I did those breathing exercises and taught me to manage my anxiety before we meet, right? Or I did those like when I was in my med school interview or something like that. It's like they share those moments of like something that you taught them that existed outside the pool. And I always said, at the end of every season, I said, you don't care if you become the fastest swimmer in the world and break every single record, or if you never swim again. My one ask of you is that you take one thing you learned this season and share it with one person. And I learned that from my coach back home. It's not mine. I stole it.
That's okay, you borrowed it.
In terms of discipline, I think, as an athlete, so when I was training, I had 3 posters on my wall. One had a line down the middle, and on one side it said 100%, on the other side it said less than 100%. And I forced myself every day at practice, I would come home, I would have to write the date on one side or the other. And 100% just means you give all of what you have. So if you are exhausted, if your mind is elsewhere, and you only have 30% to give, if you give that 30%, you're still giving 100%, right? But when you force yourself to be accountable and you know that you have to come home and write that date, you do not want to write that date on the other side. So that developed a discipline. The other one is mindset, like telling yourself, right? Like you believe the story you tell yourself. And so I had another poster that just said, I will. And I wrote all my season's goals on that poster. And so you see it every single day. And the third poster was things I gave up for swimming. And so each season, there were things that I felt like I would give up, and I would come home and write things up. I mean, like going on dates with people, right? Or like missing parties, or my aunt died during one of the seasons. I did not go home and go to her funeral. So all across the spectrum. And I think what I learned from that is when you are really focused and you have discipline, the things that you see as sacrifices when you're in it, when you finally reach your goals, like they're no longer sacrifices.
Why do you think, I mean, obviously mental health is a big part of sports, and it's always been, I think we're probably paying a little bit more attention now than before, but how important you think, focusing with young people from the shoulder up, really focusing about the mental side, in addition, obviously, to the physical side, but how important do you think that is as a coach?
So the team that I grew up swimming for, we had been working with a sports psychologist since I was in 6th grade. Dr. Straw, and he was, this is like the late 80s. And so like this just wasn't happening anywhere. I mean, you used to talk to like college swimmers who swam back then, they weren't worrying about people, right? And so I just remember like we would do relaxation and visualization, and he would do things like breathing exercise. He'd talk to us, and he made tapes for us. We'd go home and listen to. and then visualization. And so everyone performs at a different level of arousal. Some people perform happy, some people perform really nervous. And so what he taught us, the main thing he taught us was resetting your nervous system. And so when you do relaxation exercise, look, it should never be the last thing you do before you go out and perform, right? The only thing that you do when you're doing those relaxation exercises, you're cleaning the slate. And so we use that at practice. Like we come in, we do exactly come in, touch the light for 10 seconds to like shut your body down, catch your breath. And like, you just have to like learn how to breathe so your heart rate comes down and you do the next thing. But you can do that like for like Colgate, like I had tickets to a BB King concert. Like I didn't know how to go. Like my coach was told my coach, and he like pulled me out of the pool, and he goes, brings me in his office. He goes, "Who do you think's like the prettiest girl on campus?" Right? It's like all women. And he's like, "Well, call her and ask her." He's like, "You're not leaving this office until you." Like, what? Like, okay. So I called this girl, and she, I don't even know if she knew who I was. But very nicely she said thank you, but no thank you. And that was that, and I ended up going for it. And I actually borrowed your car to go to that concert. Right?
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, John. But it's like 6 months later, spring semester, and I'm in the dining hall, and she was on the lacrosse team. And I was like sitting with my friends, and she's over there, and I tell my kids this story about it too. And I got my tray, and I was like, I'm gonna go over there and tell her that I'm the guy that asked her to tray. And I go over there, and the silverware and the plates are like shaking on my tray, and I'm like, "Hi, my name is Joe," right? And I'm like, but I do remember, like, before I went over there, like, hey, just breathe. Like, hold your breath, just breathe. I'm like, I made it through it. And that is something like when I'm around people, I'm pretty outgoing, but if I don't know you, like, I'm intimidated by a lot of people just to go up and, like, I'm much better now than back then, like, not something that, and so even in situations like that, like you know how to use it. So in terms of getting that, I mean, I think the younger you can, the better. I mean, my daughter is in 5th grade now, and she knows what box breathing is. She can manage her dysregulation and anxiety. So I don't think it makes a difference if you're in sports or not, but giving kids those skills is going to allow them to navigate the world so much easier.
You studied, traditional wayfinders in New Zealand in terms of leadership framework. How did that kind of thinking or lens kind of influence your life?
My trip to New Zealand for business school was pretty influential in a few different ways. So we studied rangeteer leadership, which is those wayfinders, like Moana, right? People sail those boats. And we got to do some classroom sessions with them talking about how they lead a group that's going to sail one of those boats thousands of miles across the ocean. And we actually got to go and sail on those boats, and I got to actually sail it. The biggest lesson I can see from rangeteer leadership is move from a place of stillness. So that means you're out to sea in the middle of the ocean, and all hell breaks loose, right? There's a fire or mutiny or just storm or something. The worst thing you can do is try and keep moving towards your goal. Because everything is going on, you think you're going in the right direction, and when they're sailing those boats, if they're off by half a degree, they're thousands of miles off course in a few days. And so moving from a place of stillness means when things are chaotic, stop, take the sails down, reassess. Take kind of like a tally of everything that's going on, and only when you're ready to start moving forward again is when you put your sails back out. I think that can apply to so many different parts of life. I don't think our society is suited for that, because when you have everything you need in your pocket and you're getting notifications and they're just saying go and you're being asked, like our brains aren't developed to communicate that way or exist that way. It's like that was a good reminder of what's like how to prioritize things.
We're living in a moving, changing world. Getting perspective, getting a sense of yourself, grounding yourself. What do you do every day to get that sense of wellness?
I go to Orange Theory every single day. That's just basic.
And what is Orange Theory?
Going through some tough times with certain things, and when it all started, one of my friends gave me some of the best advice I ever had. He said, "You're about to go through some stuff. You gotta get yourself in the best physical shape you can." He goes, because it doesn't matter. You are now worried about 1,000 different pathways, but there's really only, like, it doesn't matter because there's only going to be one that you take, and you need to make sure that your body can handle that, right? That's one thing. So that's like the physical part. I think for the mental piece, I have a ceremony that I do. I'm in touch with like my indigenous ancestry, and I've been studying that a lot. And so it's a ceremony I do in the morning when I wake up, and it's really all about setting your intention, right? Like, how am I going to go out and exist in the world every day? And to me, part of what matters to me, part of how I want to go out and exist in the world is do my part to raise the vibration of love under the earth. Am I successful at that every day? Absolutely not. But I think just the act of, before you go out in the world, being able to have a conversation with yourself and say, this is the intention I want to set for myself today, does so much, and it carries me throughout the entire day.
I like that. Your marketing career spanned everything from finance to pro sports to tourism to brand strategy. And you've also built a career as a photographer. How do you merge creative thinking with leadership and strategy?
I guess at this point, I don't know when I think of it as like merging it. It just all happens in my brain all at once, and somehow I'm like, this is it, or let's go this way. But I think it's really starting with a story, right? Like everyone has a story, starting with the creative vision. So what is your vision for whatever you're going to do? And then adding each piece on top of that, right? And the other thing I like to do is I like to build teams where there's a team of experts, right? If I'm the expert on everything, we're screwed. That's not a good place to start. So I'd say have a vision and then build a team of experts around you and listen to them.
When you meet a project that pushes your boundaries, what usually tends to be, what kind of project tends to do that for you?
I would say a perfect example of that is oil swarm.
Demon.
I don't know if you can get more outside of not outside of my wheelhouse, but just I've been out of that world, professional athlete, in that realm, and there's a big piece of it that when you're in it, I missed. Right. And I didn't. I saw you see the business side and see how connections are made and how you step into that world on a much larger scale than when I was an athlete. And then just learning things, right? Like I'm a photo guy. Now we're doing video. I'm doing big video things. And so there's a lot of YouTube. Like a lot. You can learn so much from the internet. But again, just getting things right. So I'd say this Foyle's Forum experience has pushed my boundaries. It's pushed my boundaries, like educationally. It's pushed my boundaries emotionally. It has pushed my boundaries socially. And I have learned so much in this space in such a short amount of time.
I mean, I think that one of the interesting thing about a life is, the dips, the turns, running into walls and trying to figure out how to get up that mountain, right? And in 2020, you stood on the courthouse steps and gave you Masons of Love, talk, speech. Talk about that moment, and I guess why did you feel compelled to come forward in that moment?
Ooh. So I live in Bend, Oregon. Oregon in itself is a really not a diverse state. Black people weren't even allowed to live there for a really long time, until like the late 1800s, I think. And Bend, where I live, is even less diverse than the state as a whole. And it was 2020. You were seeing things in the news like Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and I just felt like I was really existing in this bubble where I was feeling the impact. I don't want to come out of my house some days. I didn't like just that much anxiety. And I didn't feel. I had some friends who would check in on me and say, like, "How are you doing?" And like, because I know this must be hard. But as a whole, my daily existence was like, I was seeing all this stuff, and I was like, I need to do something. I don't know what that is. And so I asked like 10 friends, like, hey, can you walk with me from the river to the courthouse? Like, it was just symbolic, right? It wasn't supposed to be a big thing. And some of them own businesses, and so they put it out on social media if anybody wants to join us. And the day was going to happen on a Saturday, and Friday morning, I got a call from the police department, and they asked me what our route was going to be. That we were going to, I was like, it's going to be like, I don't know, 10 or 15 of us. Like, why do you know this? He was like, oh, no, it's not. Like, this is all over the place. I was like, oh, okay. So quickly I like wrote a thing, like, in case I needed to give a talk, and had people read it and review it, and yeah, kind of have like my little panel of
think tank.
I show up on Saturday morning, like the news is there, and like they're interviewing me, and there was like 2,000 people at the park, and we walked, and it was amazing to see. It made me feel safer in my hometown. I think what I remember most about that day, it was like history. Like the town had never seen anything like that, and there was like the far right guys like that were lining the streets, and they had like their AR-15s, and trying to make us think twice. Somebody actually like tried to drive into the crowd. But I gave the speech, and it didn't hit me until I saw photos of it, and I saw the impact. And actually, I think one of the best things that came out of that is there's a leader, pretty public leader in our area, who's part of one of these far right groups, and he did a piece on social media where he literally said, I went down there and I saw what was going on, and I heard what they were talking about, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. And I was like, my jaw dropped. But I applaud him for saying what happened. It was called Masons of Love, and the idea of the entire speech was, look at the state of our country. If we're going to move forward at this moment in time, the only thing that's going to solve that is love. And we need to learn, like, whatever people are doing in politics, whatever our leaders are doing, we don't have to pay attention to that to some extent. But but to exist in community together,
Mm-hmm.
we need to do it with love. And so to see that somebody who would have been at odds with the Black Lives Matter movement
Mm-hmm.
literally said they were just exercising their, free speech, the right of free speech, and I don't have a problem with anything that was said, was to me pretty big.
Earth-shattering. Now, as a photographer, um, you have been able to travel and see so many different parts of the world and take pictures. Talk about what the lens give you, the opportunity that the lens give you that maybe words can't really express.
Um, when I take a picture, well, there's different types of photography, right? So when I go out and I take a picture of a landscape, whether it's a sunset or a mountain or waterfall, something like that, I am trying to capture like the beauty of the earth, right? Like, and sometimes there's like one thing that you want to focus on, and sometimes you zoom out and you're just showing the whole thing. When I take a picture of a person, my goal is always, no matter who they are, like, you are a beautiful person. I feel like it's my job to reflect that beauty back to you. So many people are uncomfortable in front of the camera. I photograph well. It's like, well, I don't need to pose you. Like, let's just go have a conversation. Just look around. Let me capture you doing what you do. And I love being able to capture the beauty that other people don't see in themselves.
I love that. Now, if I was to torture you and say you can only shoot a certain category of photo, let's call it landscape, or I don't know, let's leave you at a nudist colony. I don't know. We'll see. What would you hope that you get to shoot for the rest of your life if you could only shoot one genre of things?
I would shoot quiet moments that people have, like intimate quiet moments that people have, whether it's with other people or if it's by themselves. Because I think that's a thing. Like, my kids are always saying, like, Dad, stop taking pictures, right? In my mind, like, someday when I'm not around, like, you're gonna be glad that you have these, right? It's like I'm like siblings snuggling on a couch, or us doing a hike together, or something. Those quiet moments are things that we want to remember in our mind, and I think that as you get older, I know for a fact that I'm like, oh, I wish I had a picture from that day. I wish I had a picture of this, right? So,
As somebody who have probably one picture of myself when I was probably less than 5. There's nothing between 1 and 5 or 6, maybe not even 7. I think start doing more pictures maybe around 15. That's crazy. Let's jump around a little bit. So you decided to help me with False Forum. What are we doing?
here we are.
I mean, I've been trying to explain to people, I guess, what we're doing, and I haven't been able to do a very effective job. So, I mean, talk about building and working together.
So we talked. Well, I guess we would start back, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's such a similar background,
Yeah,
right?
something.
Came to American, lots of change on Colgate professors. My parents were white, and they're Cornell professors. Like, just such a similar background. And so I feel like the times when we've really just hung out ourselves, when we've had conversations that, we've celebrated great joys, and we've celebrated like the most heartbreaking losses and everything in between. And I feel like we have an understanding of each other, like how we see the world through that lens of that part of our identity together. And so when we first started talking about this, you said, like, I don't want to be boxed in. right? And because you do so many things, like you weren't just the NBA player, like you have 2 masters, like you have 2 foundations, like there's so much more, so many different deeper levels to yourself besides just the athlete, but like athletics was kind of the vehicle. You can't discount 13 years in the so he said, I don't want to be boxed in. And so my job then was saying, okay, like how do we form a brand that encompasses everything? And so we really started looking at like, okay, what are the pieces of your life and your identity that we want to showcase? And so we came up with dream big, work hard, give back, right? And that's really the foundation of everything that we're doing. And that morphed into Foyle's Forum, which is where sports, culture, and big ideas collide. And that lens allows us to look at everything. And I think one of the coolest things that we're doing when we're looking for content to create is saying, let's tell the story that most people don't see, right? So like we're talking to a basketball player, right? Of course, you might ask them, some questions about basketball. You can't ignore that, right? But then we're going to ask them that part that they don't get to talk about, that part that like ESPN's not interested in, but still a really great story. And so that, like, whether it's sports or academics or philosophy or whatever, whoever that person is that's under our lens, we get to decide where that story goes. And I think that's what's most exciting to me.
So, I mean, talk about, when you looking out, what does, for you, in terms of your journey, what does success look like for you? What does happiness look like for you?
Man, I met with Graham today. And I was just like, I wish I recorded that conversation because I would just play it back for you. That man has made it more than I think anybody will ever understand. And he just kind of shared with me, like, being in the moment is all that matters. Like, you can't even let yourself get ahead in your mind 2 seconds, right? Like, if you're thinking about, all these things, well, I want to get to this point in my life. I want to do this, or I want that. But like, you're doing it now. So don't get caught up like in the moment thinking about I want to be here, because your now is how you get there, right? And so I think I want to be able to look back and say, as much as I could, that I was in the moment, moving myself to where I wanted to be, understanding that where I want to be can change. I think a lot of people get, and I have this conversation with my daughter all the time. She recently became a vegetarian, and I support that, but she's also 10, and she has a long life to live ahead of her. And so I'm constantly having a conversation saying, like, listen, I support you being a vegetarian, but I don't want you to feel like if you're making this decision now, that you have to be locked into it for the rest of your life. Like, sometimes, like, a cheeseburger could taste good. I don't know, like, I'm not trying to tell you to eat a cheeseburger right now, but, like, I don't want you to torture yourself thinking, man, I would really like a cheeseburger, but I made this decision, and so everyone else is looking at, like, everyone else will look at me
and judge.
And judge if I'm not what I say. So that's the lesson I'm trying to pass on, is like, I want to be intentional about who I'm becoming. And whenever I can sit back and say, I don't think I'll ever be able to say I made it, but I want to be able to, at any point in my life, sit back and say, I was in the moment, intentionally going to where I wanted to go.
Joey, thank you very much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And guys, welcome to the Cookout. Don't forget to subscribe and really like and follow us.